Hello and welcome to the Brooks Breakthrough Podcast. I am your host, Ashley Brooks. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I have the pleasure of not only bringing one, but two amazing guests to you today, Janese Williams and Waseem Bari from Jet Mortgage here in Houston. Janese is one of their loan officers and Waseem is their VP and branch owner. Here again at the Houston office, and we are going to talk through real estate, even hit on education, entrepreneurship. There are so many headlines right now talking about how crazy the real estate market is and how fearful we should be, and we really want to bring down that fear level a few notches. So we're going to hit on those topics and a number of others. So without further ado, please help me in welcoming Janese and Waseem. Guys, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi.
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Definitely. Well, and so we're only a few episodes in, so it's great that you guys jumped in early on in this experience process. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So I know we have a number of topics we're going to cover, so I want to jump right into it. Before we even touch on real estate, share with me a little bit about your guys' background, where you're from, and how you even got into this industry.
Okay, I'll start. Okay, so I graduated college at Mary Hardin Baylor. I double majored in finance and marketing. Ashley and I went to school together. We did not know each other at school. We met each other in the industry after that. And so my background, started off in corporate America, the business world. So executive assistant, office manager. And then I kind of worked my way up. I became a marketing manager at an IT company. My last job before getting into mortgages was project and technology manager. And then COVID hit and I lost my job there. And I kind of took a year to kind of decide what I wanted to do next. I've always loved real estate and I've always wanted to get into real estate. So I told myself I want to be a realtor, like hands down, want to be a realtor. A lot of events happened in 2020 that kind of made me pivot from that. And so I met with he was a friend of mine, or is a friend of mine, and he's a mortgage broker. We had dinner and I told him that I wanted to be a realtor. And he was like, I don't want to discourage you from, being a realtor, but, the nature of the business is you have to be tied to homes. Like you have to do the showings. And there's just not that much leniency when it comes to, you wanting to leave town for a long period of time. And so he's like, so just like, look at the mortgage side. All you really need is your laptop and your cell phone. I know you love to travel, and I do love to travel. And my background has always been finance and marketing. Like I've managed offices. I have, managed technology. I love meeting people. Wow. And so when he told me like mortgages, it seems completely finance, but it's a lot of just being personable with people. Like you're literally walking them through the biggest purchase of their life, most likely. And I've loved it. Like I, jumped in, got my license, got my hands dirty. I actually just got licensed last October. But I've really been training and working in mortgages probably since last February. So February 2021. And it's been great ever since. I love it. And I, just started with Jet not too long ago with Waseem. And it's just been, it's been amazing. It's just put me in a position to be really competitive in the market.
Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Waseem?
Well, I'm an open book. No, I grew up. I'm a native Houstonian. I'm born and raised here in Houston. I moved to Pakistan when I was 2 years old, and I came back when I was 7. My mom and dad we're culturally different. We're a cultural family. My mom's Mexican. My dad is from Pakistan, and so my dad. We took off to Pakistan and we came back, and I've been here ever since. Went to Klein Forest High School. I was accepted into Oxford University. That's where my family went. My dad, my brothers, my grandpa were big alumni in Oxford, but I'm the black sheep of the family. I was like, no, I want to go to U of H. And I didn't. I ended up becoming an entrepreneur. I dropped out of college my sophomore year, and I never looked back. I opened up a couple different companies. And then I got into the mortgage industry about 8 years ago. The oil market crashed. I actually had a small little oil chemical company, and I was doing that in oil and gas, and it crashed, and I lost my shirt, as most entrepreneurs do at one point in their careers. And I started over, and I was selling cars, and a buddy of mine was like, you need to be a loan officer. Like you have the gift of gab, and you have that person, the personality that you can just talk to people and people trust you. And that's, you can walk somebody through their biggest purchase of their life, and why not be you? So I said, okay, look into it. And I didn't look back. So I worked for a major retail national bank for the last 8 years. And I decided I got that entrepreneur itch again. And I was like, I want to start my own company. I want to make other people successful. And I want to see us grow. So we teamed up with Jet, the CEO, and he's in Dallas, and then I own the Houston branch, and I didn't ever look back.
What do you say that it's almost hard to be an entrepreneur and then go to a 9 to 5, because it's almost like you're strapped down and you're like, you can't hold me down anymore. Like this can't be my life. So it's interesting, because I don't think I've met a lot of people who've gone from being an entrepreneur and doing well and then go to a normal 9 to 5. I've seen it the other way, where like they don't do well, because I've noticed, especially in real estate, when you go from not having anyone to answer to and having to build your own structure, it's really hard for some people. And I had someone on a few weeks ago, and he said, I never dog the 9 to 5 unless the 9 to 5 is dogging you. And it's so true, because there are people who just need structure, and it's okay if they can't create on their own. And I'm not going to bash anyone who's like that, because even especially for me in the beginning, it was really hard to be productive in the day when you had no one to answer to and you were by yourself.
No, for sure. I mean, at Jet Mortgage, we like to have a lot of fun. So there's a lot of days where, we have a barbecue, and then all of a sudden we're just working on our laptops, and the wine starts flowing, and we're like, oh wow, it's already 7 o'clock,
That is funny. Janese, tell me what it was like for you coming in to the craziness, right? Because we're going into a slowdown, but it's like normalizing, correcting. You came in like when things were really, really wild.
So it was a little scary for me, just because it's very new. So I've always had, the 9 to 5, the structure. And so when you go into, you kind of have to create your own thing. It was exciting for me, because I was finally in an industry that I wanted to be in for like, 10 plus years. But it was a lot of learning very, very quickly on how to get things done and, make sure that, your clients are taken care of. So for me, I like the challenge. So it didn't stir me anyway. And I had, so many years of corporate experience. So kind of like you were talking about structure, I just took everything that I loved at every job that I'd had prior and created it to be my own. Like, I want my email set up this way. I want to make sure, I am available at these times. I will say the one thing, and I'm actually still working on it, would be the balance. Because you're new, so you want to make sure, I wanted my clients to know that I'm available whenever they wanted me to be available. But the reality of the job is you're working with all sorts of different people. You're working with the people that work overnight and can only call you, in the middle of the day or something like that. Or you're working with the people that, 10 o'clock at night is the only time that they can go over their loan estimate with you. So it was that balance, and being new, I think it worked out in my favor, because, I wasn't bombarded with, 7 years of clients coming at me. It was, the business that I started and the people that I met initially. So it was slow going in the beginning, but it really helped me to be able to structure everything once it really started picking up for me personally.
And one thing I'll say about you that I've noticed is that in real estate, we hear that you should never be a secret agent. Everyone should know what you do.
Exactly.
Everyone knows what you do.
Absolutely.
It's impossible to know you and not know what you do.
And it helps to love what you do, because I just want to talk about it all day, every day.
No, that completely. Waseem, so tell me, you just opened this branch here in Houston, like literally this year, months ago, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. What has that experience been like in getting this ramped up?
It's been stressful, but in a good way. I like the stress. I've always been a type of person where I've always said, you whatever you do in life, you work hard and give it 100%. And it's okay if you fall, but you get back up and you do it again. And so there was, when I started this company, me and my business partner, we were like, well, what makes us Jet Mortgage? What are we going to bring to the table that makes us so different? And basically what we did was we said, a lot of these banks, they inflate rates because they want to pad their profits. They want to make sure that they're getting fed, and they keep their $3 million homes and their Maseratis and their Bentleys and whatnot. And we said, you know what, we're fine. I like being with my team on the ground, hitting the bricks and running. And because I've been doing it for the last 8 years, I have so much experience and so much knowledge. And I also wanted to implement a easier life for them, because they but what we did was we put the systems in place. That way they don't have to go out there, and all their job is to go out there and get new business. And while the back end, the support is there to really make sure that the files get from point A to point Z in a streamlined process, and with clarity and organization, and the realtors are being updated on a constant base. Their borrowers are being updated on a constant base. And the processing is just streamlined. My processing is, don't want to brag on myself, but the best in the business.
It should be.
It really is.
Brag about being average.
And I'll even real quick brag on Waseem. Just working with him for a short period of time, I've seen him get red in the face just of something stressful, whether it's a deal or just something happening in the company, but end the phone call with a smile. Like, he's really a good person to work for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. Well, so tell me a little bit. I know, and so I want to get into kind of what we're seeing. There's a transition that's happening right now, and a lot of people keep saying, "Oh, the real estate market's about to crash," which it's not. We know that it's not. It's correcting itself. So share a little bit about what you guys are seeing on your side as far as the shift is going.
So I'll start just because I'm newer to the industry, and then he can tell you what he's seen from the last few years to now. So I came in, I guess, during the refinance boom. Rates were still low. It was last year, 2021. Rates were still super low. My first deals were refinances, and everybody jumped on it. And then once, I guess, they realized what I did, once I started promoting myself, everybody really just wanted, I mean, it was cheaper mortgages. It was just really putting themselves in the position to anybody that wanted to do home renovation products, because we were still stuck at home. So everybody was just like, well, where can I find extra cash to get my house done? It's refinance. Like, you're going to beat the interest rate that you got a few years ago. So up until now, because interest rates really just increased, I would say in the last month and a half, possibly. And so now, we're at the highest that we've been in the last couple of years. Because I want to say when I refinanced, my refinances at least, I saw 5%. And we were, sitting in the 2s and 3% last year, up until like maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And then, they slowly started creeping up. But now there is a turn. Like, you can even see from the deals that it went 100% from a seller's market, because rates were so low and everybody wanted a house and inventory got low, to now we're seeing seller concessions up, down, left, right on just about every deal, because now homes are sitting on the market longer. And I know as a realtor, you can attest to it. But yeah, that's the shift that I saw. I mean, I obviously don't have the 10 years of experience, and I didn't, I wasn't there for the 08 crash. I was on the consumer side of the 08 crash, not the mortgage side. But yeah, go ahead.
The things that I just want to point out is, I think that rates and real estate in general is a cyclical thing. The government, I think, honestly, and this is my opinion, I'm not an economist, or I'm not someone that's, looks at charts all day or anything like that. But just in my opinion, when you look at rates and you look at the historical real estate game, it's always cyclical. I remember back in the 80s, when my parents bought their first house, or when they bought a house here, rates were 15%, 12%, 9%, and then you had the 2001 crash where, and then it brought rates down, and then you saw it kind of cycle back through. And then in 2008, when the mortgage meltdown happened, it crashed again. And then right before the election of Trump, you saw rates drive up again. And then now because of, COVID or whatever. So the government has figured out, hey, we have to control the way that the economy rises and falls is based on the American dream. And what is the American dream? The American dream is owning a home and a car. So how do we continue the cycle? We raise and lower interest rates, and until they come to a happy medium, and then it just turns into a cyclical thing. So I think that this is a new norm for us for this time period, is we're going to see 6%, 5% interest rates. And this is the reason why Jet Mortgage is going to be successful throughout this time, is because we don't pad our rates. Banks get greedy, brokers don't. We work for the customer. We're not tied to one lender. We don't have to worry about, our owners of the bank having to pay a big overhead payroll. We're nimble. We go to different banks and we compete, and we say, hey, what can you offer my clients? And do you want me to send you all my deals? Well, what are you going to do for my clients? So whereas these bigger banks, retail shops, they have to pay their bonuses, they have to pay their employees, they have to pay their salaries, they have to pay for their marketing strategies and all that stuff. Where we created a broker shop to where we can do all that for our employees, but we can also give them the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, go out there and be competitive, because you can. I'm still in the low fives, I'm not even touching 6 yet. We did a deal last week where we were still in the 4s, so yeah, we can attest to that, and we can show you documentation like, hey, this is where we're at. We don't have those big salaries that we're paying to our executives. Like I'm a loan officer just like they are, and I go out there every day and hunt and go out there and meet and greet, kiss babies, shake hands, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. Well, so you shared how you guys are definitely competitive in the market against your competitors, and how you can better serve customers in that realm. Are you at all pivoting for what's coming?
For sure.
And share how you're pivoting.
We're pivoting into more of a purchase market. We're not really focusing on your refinances or anything like that. What we're really doing is we're trying to help the listing agents. We have a marketing rep that goes out to all of our realtors that want to have a listing. We want to help the realtors get to where they want to be. If you want to be a listing agent, then we'll help you get there. And in return, we hope that you still support us as far as coming to our events and helping us grow with maybe your friends or whatever the case may be. But it's more of a purchase market now, and we're aiming to pivot towards helping first-time home buyers and people that are just getting out of colleges with these programs, non-QM programs, to 40-year mortgages. We're helping people with their DTI issues, and because we have lower rates, we don't have those hurdles of saying, hey, you're barely approved. Now the housing market has gone up so much and inflation has gone up so much, but we're still able to get you into that level where you want to be put in. So it all comes down to how you pivot, and the way you pivot is you just continue to help people. If you continue to help people, people will help you. This is the fundamentals of being a good person, right? And that's how we strive on. Jet Mortgage is not here to make millions of dollars. We're just here to help people get into their homes, help people help themselves, and in return, hopefully we get some help as well by getting some referral base and stuff like that. Honesty and integrity is always what I grew up on, and that's my core value. And so that's where I want to be. And also, we grow by telling the truth, like telling these loan officers, hey, you don't have to pay these high fees, and you don't have to pay these high rates. You don't have to sell these high rates. Come over here. It's simple. It's transparent. We just allow you to make money, and however you want to make money. If you want to work 1 day a week, that's great. If you don't want to work, then you don't have to work. Like it's up to you.
No, that's awesome. Share a little bit about how you're working with agents, because I know that I have some realtors who listen. So share how you're helping them build their businesses. And how
so we have wow factors for all of our agents. We have a very, very, very aggressive marketing budget. And the way we do that is at the time of your clients getting pre-approved for all your agents, we send out edible arrangements to their job on your behalf and our behalf. And what that does is it keeps this is one of the stressful things that they're going to buy in their lives. This is the biggest purchase they're going to buy. So and it's not easy for you to open up your financials to a stranger and say, hey, well, I need to your tax returns, your W-2s. I need to go through your fine tooth comb of everything that you've ever done in the last 3 months. I want to know about your deposits. I want to know about this, that, and the other. You got to be able to have some fun with them, and you got to be able to say, hey, you know what, we appreciate you. Mm-hmm. So we give them gifts throughout the whole experience. And what we do is we co-brand it between you and us. So we send them an edible arrangement at the time they get pre-approved, that we've seen all their documents and everything like that. And once they close on their home, we present them with a closing gift, which is usually a cutting board, has your name on it, the loan officer's name and the realtor's name, and it's like a nice little cutting board that we present to them, and we say thank you so much for doing business with us. Mm-hmm. But also we do a lot of events, like we have special ties with Landry's, and we are hosting, like we always get invited to host events at Landry's restaurants where we don't have to kind of spend so much upfront in order for us to have a good time. And so we take advantage of that. We have realtors come out all the time, and hey, if you want to host an event, talk to me. We'll help you out. We'll pay for some of those costs upfront, so that way you can get some business and I can get some business, and we can all grow as a team. Yeah, it's all about being a team. A team environment is a healthy environment.
Yeah. And I will just add on to that. Anybody that knows both sides of the business, that you are basically coming out of your savings. Like, as a realtor, you don't get paid until the house closes. As a mortgage lender, we don't get paid until that mortgage loan closes. So with all of the in-betweens, we, like he said, we're really aggressive with just like wanting to help our realtors, because the more successful you guys are, the more successful we all are. And then we have happy clients, and why not, bask in that? So, client appreciations will go in on, appreciating the realtors that, really do business and help Jet Mortgage grow. Will absolutely, help you guys with any marketing things that you want to do in the future.
No, and that's great. That's always a really great touch, because I think it's nice for the client to see both sides working together as well on their behalf, to know that, hey, I trust them, they trust me, know that we're working together and it's not us against them.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's always a really good touch. I want to go back to just, again, I know that there's so much fear that people have going into this next season. Can we just stress that it is still a good time to buy and still a good time to sell?
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
So share some of your feelings about that.
Yeah. And I can even give you examples. I had a client that started shopping for a house last year. Rates were low and it was a good time to get in. They got their pre-approval done, all this good stuff. And anybody that was shopping for a house in 2020 and 2021 knows how frustrating it was to, find your dream home and then get outbid because people are coming in with cash, and people are coming in, you have a type of loan that maybe the listing agent isn't familiar with. And I feel like that should be a podcast all on its own. Like, a mortgage loan is a mortgage loan, agents. They'll close. But with that being said, I have literally witnessed people shopping in 2021, deciding not to shop, or stop the search, and then come back in 2022 and realize that they aren't getting pre-approved for the amount that they got pre-approved for a year ago. But also, we've all witnessed home prices increase. Mm-hmm. So what happens is it kind of offsets it. If you wait, those home prices are still going to go up. Interest rates are they're going to level out at some point, but those home prices are going to go up. If you don't wait, you at least get your house. Like, the thing that everybody really needs to focus on is affordability. If you get pre-approved for a certain amount, and you can afford the monthly mortgage payment, that is more than enough reason to shop. If you are ready and willing and you have the money saved up for closing costs, you should absolutely buy a house right now. Because what's going to happen is that $300,000 house that you can afford right now is going to be a $350,000 house in a year, and then a $400,000 house. So you look at affordability, talk to your loan officer. It doesn't cost a thing to get a pre-approval. So why not? And honestly, one of the big things about Jet Mortgage is that we'll do a soft pull. I know people are so worried. I get on the phone every day with, are you going to pull my credit? Is it going to hurt my credit? We can do a soft pull. we can see where you're at, and that way we can talk through your credit report to see what needs to be paid off. Maybe you didn't realize that something was dragging your credit down. But a consultation is absolutely free. We are nerds. We love this stuff.
Yeah.
And if I am on vacation or I can't talk to you, I got, 4 other LOs that are ready and willing to hop on the phone with you for as long as you want and walk you through what needs to be done to get you into a house.
No. But just to touch base on a little bit to expand, people are still going to continue to live their lives throughout this process of inflation, higher interest rates. People are still going to move. People are still going to find new jobs. People are still going to have kids. People are still going to, graduate college and want to live their life in the most successful way that they want to. All that does not stop. So what does happen is like for the ones that you said about how are you changing, yeah, we're going after more first-time home buyers because they're coming out of college. They're going to want to buy a house. Doesn't matter what the rate is. Are you want to pay 100% interest or do you want to pay 5% interest? You're renting an apartment. That's 100% interest you're paying. Rather than buying your home and getting into a place where you can start building equity, and in 5 years from now, selling that home and buying a bigger home and then going up and moving up in the American dream process. Again, I go back to it. It's the American dream is to own your home in America. Take advantage of it. This is the greatest country in the world that we are able to allow programs to have 3% down, and minimum closing costs. That does not happen in other countries. That does not happen in Europe. You need 20% down, and it's on an arm, like it's an adjustable rate mortgage. This is a country that we are amazed because we are able to do what we can do and allow these low down payment programs. So again, first time home buyers, don't think that just because you're at a higher interest rate, again, goes back to, can you afford it? If you can afford it, take the bull by the horns and do it. Trust me, in 5 years from now, you're gonna say, wow, my house is worth, 5%, about what, 20% more than what it is. And even if the bubble pops like they say that it is, it's not gonna pop, like not at least here in Texas. You know what I mean? We went through so many meltdowns and we didn't see houses drop the way the rest of the country did. So I'm pretty sure that we're gonna be in a good spot.
I want to reiterate what you just said, because that was a big thing, that nowhere else in the entire world can you buy a home as easily as you can in the United States of America, even at these prices, even at these interest rates.
Yep, that's true.
Like, I think we live in a society that's very, I don't want to say closed-minded, but we don't get out a lot. So we don't realize what's happening in the rest of the world. We think that what happens here in the US is like the rule across the board everywhere, and that's not the case. So that, that's a major thing. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that are just like, there's a lady I called today, who I want to see if she wants to sell her house. I have a buyer who really wants to get into a neighborhood. Nothing's on the market there. So I'm literally just calling everything that's off the market. And she's like, no, I'm not going to sell. I can't afford to buy in this market. And I'm just like, oh man, if I could have shared that with her, like, this is the only country in the world where you can definitely afford to buy.
Yeah,
exactly.
So no, that was a really good aha moment. So I want to stay on that for a little, because I want people to realize that the shift that we're going to, it's not crashing. There was just a really great opportunity the last few years we had. And you said that you guys are focusing on first-time home buyers and those coming out of college, because now that we're not really going after, hey, do you want to buy a second or third house? Because those people took advantage of the opportunity with the really cheap money. My dad bought a house in the early 2000s, sometime between like 2001, 2005. He didn't buy a house again until 2020 and 2021. He bought 3 houses in a matter of like 12, 15 months that were all rental properties. And so I actually had a conversation recently with a friend who they sent an article about how a lot of businesses, a lot of companies bought houses in the last 2 years. And it was a very big percentage, right? And it seems unfair, but it's crazy because people think, oh, those are just the big box companies, but it's not. It was a lot of families that were saying, like, obviously didn't put it under their name, but they were like, hey, money's so cheap right now, and the power of the dollar is going down. We have to put it into something. That's what that was. It's not that, oh my goodness, we had really great times and now we're coming into really bad times. It's that there was an opportunity there that people saw.
Absolutely.
Their money. They put it into something, and this is where we are now.
Absolutely. I feel like it was the perfect storm. You can look at it as a bad thing because COVID did but a lot of people lost their job during COVID, but also, unemployment was a factor, getting paid unemployment. So you have the cash to at least pay your bills and save a little bit. And then interest rates were low. So everybody took advantage of that. They, got their homes ready to sell. They sold just like that. And they got into it just like that in the last 2 years. So yeah, to me, it was the perfect storm for the last couple of years, but it's still, obviously the affordability is, it's up to you. Can you afford it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think you hit on something earlier, like with the affordability, just like you have to, I think times are different in the sense that you have to figure out like, hey, can you afford your lifestyle too? Because not just is the house more expensive, like maybe you can't afford the same price of house you could last year, the year before, but not to mention inflation's still rising. So your cost of living is going to be more expensive. So you have to, and that's not going to stop anytime soon.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
So if you get approved for X amount, don't buy it X amount. That's a really big one. How do you guys, because I know I have that conversation with my clients, like, hey, all right, you got approved for this. Don't spend this much. Like,
Exactly.
you don't want to be house poor. Like, how do you guys go about that conversation?
I like to stress to my clients that I am here as a tool I will guide you as much as I want I never sell a 30-year mortgage. I'm not that type of person. I don't like selling a 30-year mortgage. But if you can pay off your car in 6 years or 5 years, you can pay off your home in 15 years. So my advice to my clients is I always tell them, because they're, well, what about rates? I said, well, you want the best rate of the market, you need to go into a 15-year mortgage. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, that's where you need to be. And well, no, I don't want that payment. I'm going to be able to afford less. And I'm like, well, you want to be the best interest rate, the best terms, and the best mortgage. That's your 15-year mortgage. So that's what I tell my clients. I said, I'm here as a tool. Whether you take my advice or not, because you want to stretch your dollar, then that's fine. I understand that completely. I will do exactly what you want me to do. And a lot of people would take that advice and be like, wow, Waseem, thanks so much for that lesson. But I think, I do want to do the 30-year because I want the 3 bedrooms rather than the 2 bedrooms, or I want the 4 bedrooms rather than the 3 bedrooms. And that is allowing me to kind of get there with the 30-year mortgage. And I understand that completely. Yes, ma'am. I will do whatever you want me to do. And so I tell them, but you're going to call me back in 3 years, 4 years, and we're going to get you out of this loan. Okay. A lot of my clients, I did math the other day because I was, I had just opened up Jet Mortgage and I was trying to figure out, okay, what is my retainability when it comes to these clients? And so what I started looking, I looked at all my previous clients, and a lot of these people have done 3 or 4, 5, 6 mortgages with me because they come back and they say, man, you taught me a valuable lesson about finances that I didn't know. And I've taken some of these clients from 30-year mortgages down to a 10-year mortgage. Mm-hmm. And so, the very first customer I ever did, his name is Matt St. Clair. He's a good friend of mine. He actually, you know what I mean? He'll vouch for me 110%. I've done like 4 loans for him. You know what I mean? New, for refi, investment, the whole 9 yards. And he always tells me, you're my guy. You're my guy because I know I can call you and I can just, talk to you, just have a friendly conversation with you. Or, I can talk, about finances and stuff like that. And I've helped him save tens of thousands of dollars in interest over his tier. So that's my goal is I want to put all my clients in a 15-year mortgage and a 10-year mortgage, because at the end of the day, you get, when you sell your house, you pay less interest, you make more profit, and you go on and you can do bigger down payments and bigger down payments and bigger down payments for your next dream homes. Mm-hmm. Or you can go buy that investment property that you always wanted, or that second home, or that beach home, or whatever the case may be, because you have all this equity in your home.
It's great that you're able to shine a light on that for your clients, because people don't like doing the math, 1, and 2, we are such a culture that likes instant gratification. So it's like, I want the bigger thing. I don't need to tell anyone about, like, it's like you want to show off, right? Right. More so than being financially savvy.
Keeping up with the Joneses is what it's called.
Absolutely. Well, so I want to transition a little bit. So when I it was crazy. You mentioned earlier, Janese, that we both went to the same university. We went at the exact same time, never met each other.
Never met each other.
And
We have a lot of mutual friends, but we never met each other.
Yeah, and we didn't go to like a big university. Like it's pretty small.
Yeah.
Like it's considered, it almost be like the same size as like a really major high school.
Yeah.
When you look at it. But it was interesting. So when we met, we talked just about all of the stuff that we're learning now that, man, we wish we would have learned in school because there's so much, right? And so you, Waseem, you mentioned dropping out when you were a sophomore. Like, can we touch on like maybe some of the things that you have learned now just through like being an entrepreneur that you're like, man, if more kids knew this, if more kids could just learn this, it would save you so much money. And before you get that, I always tell the story, and I know Janese has heard this. Like sometimes, like I kick myself because I'm like, I took a tennis class one summer there at that school, and it was probably what $3,000-4,000 for like a 6-week course, right? And then if I used it a loan for it, then I'm still paying interest on this class. And it wasn't even like a professional like tennis player. Like it wasn't even like a professional player that I learned from. And I literally was just hitting the ball back and forth with a friend of mine who also stayed at school for the summer.
Oh wow.
How dumb was I to spend maybe $4 or $5 grand with interest to hit a ball back and forth when I could have joined a country club?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? How much would it cost to join a country club for the summer, a good one in one of your major cities, network, actually had like a really good instructor. And obviously your network is your net worth, right?
Absolutely.
And I wish I would have learned that lesson. Granted, so grateful for my education. My parents both came from Mexico. Like they worked their butts off, and I don't want to disrespect their hard work to put
for sure.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But like looking like, and my mom hates it when I talk about it, but I'm like, but mom, like we were lied to. Like you worked so hard to like put me through school, and that's what we got in return. Like I'm very disappointed. But so shed a light on kind of like the things that you guys wish people knew, that you've learned now.
In college, in school?
Well, the things that you've learned as an entrepreneur that you're like, man, that would have helped so much if like people knew that.
Like things you would tell like an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old.
So one of my dreams is when I'm done with this, right? When I'm getting ready to retire and I've made my $100 million or $50 million of whatever I want to make. My goal is to mentor kids. I want to start a nonprofit and mentor kids, kind of like a Shark Tank, but not so much in the limelight, but kind of just go in there and really give them the advice that I wish I had, which was don't trust everyone that tells you that, I'm going to help you, because in the end, you end up working for them and you're like, oh, well, you didn't help me. So pick your friends very, 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 very closely, and just, and honestly, like in the entrepreneurship, don't give up. Don't give up. I've opened and closed and opened and closed and opened and closed so many doors because I didn't want to take the initiative. I didn't want to take the jump. I didn't want to take the leap. And I'm like, I should have done it. Like I had an opportunity to, when I had my oil and gas little thing, I had the opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia and meet with a very, 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 very big oil company. But I was like, I'm too small. They're not gonna listen to me. And I wish I never would have done that. I wish I would have believed in myself, taken that leap of faith and said, you know what, like, let's do it, So make educated risk assessments. Just don't go feet to the floor and say, hey, you know what, let's just do it because roll the dice. You know what I mean? No, we don't do that anymore either. We calculate our risk assessments and really budget, have a budget for everything. And I think that's where entrepreneurs tend to kind of fail, because they don't look at their budget sequence. They just look at it like, okay, we're just going to dump money into this, and then in return, we're just going to get what we get, and then hopefully we end up in the black. And that's the entrepreneurship mindset, because they believe in it so much that they're like, I just want to, and don't get emotionally attached. I've learned that I never get emotionally attached to my projects. Never. Yeah. I learned that real quick. Hey, walk away, cut your losses, and find something else to do. You know what I mean? Educational wise, I don't know. I can't tell you what I learned in college other than my dad went to Oxford. I'm the black sheep of the family. All my brothers went to Oxford. my brother has a degree in economics. My other brother has a degree in film production. My dad has a degree in finance and marketing. My grandfather has a degree in politics, all from Oxford University. And I can honestly say I'm the most successful in my family. Like I am, you know what I mean? And success is measured on different levels, but I'm financially more successful than anyone in my family. And they kind of like, they kind of every Christmas they come over and they're like, oh, well, we have the degrees. And I'm like, well, do you have the wallet?
Yeah. Well, but it's that mindset thing, right? Like we were taught, you go to school, get a good job, and that's
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
Right? Like my mom, I mean, that's how we grew up. Like my mom didn't even finish high school, and so for her, it was like, it wasn't a matter of like if you're going to college. It's like, what college are you going to? And you go, you get a good job, and you have a great life. And it wasn't until like, so before I was in real estate, I was in hotels, and so I was a part of this really great management company where I got a lot of really great one-on-one time with our VPs and our owners and learned so much from them. And I'd come and share kind of what I was learning with my family. And my mom one day said, I wish I would have understood the importance of ownership, because for her it was just go to school
Right.
so that you could have a good life. And then coming and sharing what these owners were talking about, she's like, that's where the true wealth is, in owning stuff.
Absolutely.
So but we didn't, like, right, we don't know. And
Yeah.
there's actually, so I don't know, do you guys read any of Malcolm Gladwell's stuff?
Mm-mm.
Okay, highly recommend it. I think I actually have one of his books over here. It's called it's called Outliers. I just read this year, so I love all of his stuff. Highly recommend any book he's ever written. But there's one in particular, in Outliers, he talks about this story of when you want to try to understand someone or a group of people, you don't just hit on like their parents or their grandparents. You hit on you need to like figure out stuff about their great grandparents and their great grandparents. And he talks about in the 30s and 40s when there were Jews that came over to New York, and a lot of them started making clothes. And you had these warehouses that they worked in, and the working conditions were so bad, and the pay was terrible. And then he goes to California, and when the Mexicans went to California and they were picking grapes, working conditions were terrible, pay was terrible. But there was a little difference in both groups that had massive implications for generations. In New York, those working in these warehouses making the clothes got to see business from start to finish, because the owners of these businesses had their offices there. They heard the conversations. They knew what it was to make the product, to distribute the product, to sell the product, and what all went into the business. In California, the Mexicans never knew what happened to the grapes after they were put onto the trucks. And so like having, and I have a friend, a very really close friend who's Jewish. And last year I was telling her about how I was learning about trust and the benefits of the tax benefits that they have and all the stuff. And my husband and I sat in the mouth, and I've been telling her, she's like, oh yeah, like all my family's money's in the trust. Like my money's in trust, and my parents have trust, my grandparents have trust. I don't know, that's crazy. No one in my personal family has trust. Like,
yeah.
no, like, right? So it just shows like the generational thing of like, we just don't know. And like, you can't help what you don't know.
Yeah.
That's where like I always encourage people, like, you can't help what you weren't taught, but you can help like whether you choose to learn moving forward.
Exactly. But also, and that's very true just in owning a home. Like, you don't know, you know what I mean? They're not educated on the programs. They're not educated. Like I have, I'm half Mexican, and I still have some of my family members that don't believe in bank accounts, and it's like, where are you keeping all your money? Like, well, I just have it in cash. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? It's like, but it's like they have that, they just weren't taught, and it's not their fault. And it's like, that's how you build generational wealth, is you have to teach people, and you have to be there for people. And I always tell them, I'm not your boss. Like, you come to me as a team member, and we're a team, and we're gonna flourish together. If you don't know anything, come talk to me. I will teach you what I know, and there's enough to go around. Like, so I don't ever want to think of myself as, oh, I'm better and this and the other. No, like I always tell them, like, if you don't like something about Jet Mortgage, you tell me right now, and that way we can fix it together. Or if you don't like the way the the shirt slip or whatever the case. You want to change the signatures. I don't care, because I'm that type of person where I want to be a team player and I want everyone to succeed. And that's how you move forward in this country, is you have to give knowledge where you can, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I know I kind of took over a little bit of that question, the answer thing, but Janese, going back to you, what are some of the things that you know that you've learned now that you're like, man, if I could have told my, 20-year-old self this?
Yeah. So it's actually a great question, because I was talking to like my 16-year-old nephew. He's, obviously in high school, getting ready to go to college. And I told him, I was like, when you go to college, shake hands with everybody, meet as many people as possible, for a couple of reasons. One, it may be the only time in your life that you are literally surrounded by people that are willing to invest in themselves, spend 4 years in an institution to better themselves. So after the 4 years, you're obviously going to make friends, shake hands with people that are going off into a bunch of different industries. But what I learned after college is it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. If you ever and I just remember, and I'll never forget this, there was a girl that I went to college with. She wanted to work for Google. Like, that was her goal. She's like, when I graduate, Google's it. Google, I love the work culture. I love everything about it, the pay structure. And she was great work ethic. She actually worked at a local restaurant/bar there. Her mom owned it. And so I knew her work ethic. I've seen her grades. We sat next to each other in class. She was actually a really good friend. And lo and behold, her aunt worked for Google. So she heard about it and kind of saw it firsthand because a family member worked there. And she got the inside scoop on what she needed to do to work for Google. And then she had an inside person to vouch for her. Okay. So it's one of those, your application is going to get so lost. And I feel like everybody at some point in their life has applied for a ton of different jobs and just not gotten it because somebody's more qualified or, whatever. And I don't have that problem. Not serial entrepreneurs, but the rest of us. Yes, we have this struggle. And I've had management positions where I'm interviewing people and, lo and behold, a current employee that I enjoy working with would bring a referral to me. And because I knew how this employee worked, absolutely, I wanted to meet a friend of theirs that, will most likely match that work ethic. So it is like shaking hands, even in this industry, real estate, it's all about networking. Like you said, your network is your net worth. So, put yourself in the room that you want to see yourself in the future. Biggest thing that I learned from my first broker in brokerage is talk to somebody in your industry or whatever you want to do that's been doing it for, and this is why I love professors, because typically professors have a background in whatever they're teaching. Talk to somebody who is 2 years into your industry or career or what you want to do, and then talk to somebody who's like 15 to 20 years into it. And obviously things change. So like say your marketing is not the same today as it was in 1999. So, we're not using MySpace anymore, and we're not, people are cold calling, but cold calling is kind of a thing of the past. The big white, book of numbers is a thing of the past. Now we have the internet. Now we have social media. There's so many ways you can get in touch with people. I am the queen of sliding into DMs, not in the way that you think, but if I have a question about something and someone's, been doing it for 10 years, I will find them on social media and shoot them a message. 9 times out of 10, they respond. And if it's, a solid, simple question, that's it. One of the very first things I did before getting into the industry, it was actually after I had my license, is I looked up a loan officer that's been doing this for, less than 2 years, who is doing really well. And I wanted to know what he did. I'm like, I know there's no secret to hard work, but what does that hard work look for? I don't want to reinvent a wheel that's already proven successful. And so I literally took him out for lunch and picked his brain. And he was very, very open and willing to share the secrets of his success. And honestly, like that one lunch conversation took me a long way. I still talk to him. He's still a friend of mine. If I ever need guidance, it's there. So that helped me out a lot. Like, in fact, I actually, obviously I went to Mary Hardin Baylor, but I did not get that in college. Like I didn't have, I wish every professor brought in a tenured anybody. My marketing professor was actually really good about this. We actually went to a local business and looked at their process. And that's when I learned that everything at Walmart that is great value is actually It's actually high end. It's different. We'll get it. Well, we can talk about that later, but literally I remember seeing that.
I would be surprised.
But it's literally something that I would not have known as a consumer if somebody didn't, take me to see it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I feel like in a lot of ways we get duped into believing it's just like, what you don't know, you don't know. If you don't know it, you clearly don't know it. And it's just like, us getting people into mortgages, they're not going to know that they have literally 50 different options of a mortgage loan to get into. They need to be educated on it. And that's our job. Like he says, he sells 15-year mortgages. And it's just something that you learn in the industry. But I mean, he still knows about a 30-year mortgage and a 40-year mortgage and an ARM.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's so much I could unpack there.
Yeah.
I know, like, for the sake of time, we won't, but yes. Love to like
part two.
Yes, there's so much there. I wanna transition into a segment I like to call the 4 W's. So we mentioned that you are kind of are who you are based on a number of factors, one of them being who you hang out with. But so the 4 W's is you are what you watch, you are what you read, you are what you listen to, and you are who you hang out with. Mm-hmm. So for the first one, what kind of content are you guys consuming? What are you watching? Do you guys even watch TV? Like, what does that look like?
I only listen to gangster rap, so I'm just kidding. I basically think I'm a thug.
Yeah, I think I'm a gangster. I watch Goodfellas and Godfather and try to take it to the world.
Listen, there's a lot of really great learning lessons from Godfather. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I guess I'll go first. Right now, what am I watching? I'm watching Billions, Succession. Those are the kind of the 2 top TV shows I'm watching right now. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I'm watching as of right now.
You're not a documentary person?
Actually, I was watching the interviews with Putin, but it's Oliver Stone. Interviews with Putin. It's really good. It was actually filmed before they invaded Ukraine, and he's like, he's a different individual. That one.
Yeah, interesting. What about you, Janese? What are you watching?
So, well, like honestly, everything real estate. I have been watching $1 Million Listing. I've been watching Selling Sunset. So something that I kind of taught myself when I was younger is I always want to end my day on a good note. So even as a kid and a teenager, I would always end my day with a cartoon, because in a cartoon, the good guys always win and the bad guys always lose, and you just go to smile on your face and thing. But now that I'm in the industry and I see it all day, every day, I love watching hustlers. I love people that, have their 5 a.m. workout and their 8 o'clock coffee, and then they, hit the ground running and have all their meetings lined up. And getting into the industry, like I'm not a serial entrepreneur like this kid, but it's basically like you're running your own business. And I just wanted to watch and see what successful people in this industry did. And I just got, caught up in it. But yeah, other than that, I tell these guys all the time, I'm not a big movie person. I love documentaries, but to be honest, all I watch are crime documentaries.
No, same. I'll do that. And like you, I have to end on a good note. So I'll watch like a scary documentary, and then I'll have to watch an episode of The Office.
Yes.
Just to so that I'm not having those dreams when I go to sleep, or my mind's not racing. I used to get when I was pregnant, I had to stop watching a lot of kidnapping stuff. Like I stopped watching SVU once I got pregnant, because I was just it messed with me. And then we watched on Netflix the disappearance of McCain, the little girl who disappeared years ago. And that was it. That was the last thing that I watched about kids getting taken or anything like that, because it can't take that.
Yeah.
But I'm all about that true crime stuff.
Yeah.
So what are you guys listening to? Are you guys big podcast people or music? Which do you prefer?
I'm a big music guy. Huge. I love all kinds of music, everything about it. I love live music. My particular is jazz and stuff like that. So I go to the Palm. They have a piano player every night. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty much there almost 3 times out the week.
Your usual. I love that. What about you, Janese?
So I'm stuck in the 90s when it comes to music. You will always and only get old school stuff from me. 90s, early 2000s,
That's old school stuff.
80s. Stop. 70s, sorry. Even Motown. I love Motown. I don't know. Like I feel like the 90s was a great year. It was like I had a decent childhood. So I'm like stuck in it. And music, and now I sound old, but music doesn't sound like that anymore. So
Very, very true. There's a really, really good Instagram account called the Song House. Do you follow them?
No.
Yeah,
never
you
heard
need
of
to look them up because it's like 30 seconds. They have 30 minutes to write a hook. And it's like a 30-second segment of a song. And you're like, you need to finish. It's singer-songwriter stuff, like real raw.
Oh,
And you're
that's
like,
cool.
can y'all finish that song? Like, I need the full version. It's
That's
and
awesome.
they have like so many of those clips. They've only finished like maybe a dozen songs. And you're like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, but real good. What are you guys reading right now?
What am I reading? So I only do Audible. And that's more so because I'm in my car a lot. I go to meetings a lot, stuff like that. But I downloaded, so like I said, I watched $1 Million Listing. I downloaded Ryan Serhant's book, Big Money Energy. I've downloaded Frederick Eklund's book, and these are top brokers in New York City. Josh Altman is a realtor in LA who's been proven successful. I have his book on Audible. I downloaded a loan officer book when I first got, or was about to get my license, and listened to that. I listened to, just to go back to the podcast thing, I listened to Loan Officer Freedom. That's a great podcast for anybody starting. And Rich Dad Poor Dad. I remember we met, you told me about that book, and I'd heard about it for years, but it's a great book. Like if you're listening, listen / read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It'll change your life.
And you can't just do it once. You have to like.
No, you can't.
It hits different.
Absolutely. Yep.
What am I? I'm reading the autobiography of Grant, Ulysses Grant.
Oh, nice.
He went through a struggle in his life where, he didn't want to be president. You know what I mean? Like he just wanted to kind of just live his life, and he was really, really in a downfall. And how to see him bounce back from all that, it's admirable. So I'm reading that. I'm reading a $1 million brokerage company, how to become $1 million brokerage company, obviously, because I own a brokerage. But it's kind of outdated. It's like the $1 million of how to become the $1 million broker in the 1990s. They still take
get on MySpace.
Yeah.
So you gotta take the nuggets that are still relevant to think about the other ones.
It talks about driving to your client's house and sitting down and going over disclosures with them. I'm like, driving to their house?
I'll do it if you cook dinner. I'll totally drive to your house.
That is funny. Well, I want to go back to Rich Dad Poor Dad really quick. So I've read that a few times now, and it wasn't until literally a few months ago that I finally got the concept of savers or losers. And for a long time, I'm like, but you have to save for a rainy day. Like you have to save to invest. And I know he talks about how he learned a lot about money from playing Monopoly with his rich dad. And so I volunteer with Big Brothers Big Sisters of a little girl who, when she comes over, she loves to play Monopoly. And she's gotten really good at negotiating. She knows like every time you land on something, you have to buy it. But she always loses. And we finally realized the reason she loses is because she gets so excited. Once everyone has the cards and we've already done our deals, and that's when you start buying stuff, she gets so excited about the stack of money she has. And she thinks she's rich. And so she'll have a stack of money and she won't buy that many houses because she's afraid of losing her money. But my husband and I, we will have maybe $12 in our stack of money because all of our money is on the board on houses. And so it hit me that like she only has a few ways to make money off of us, but has a ton of money in her bank account. We have no money in our bank account, but tons of ways to make money off of her. And that's when it hit me like,
that's crazy.
Man, think about all the people
I learned that. Yeah, I learned that in when I started this business, my business partner, and he was on like, how are you going to be successful? What is your business plan? And I told him, well, the business plan is to, keep the money in the bank and let me take leads and let me, figure it out. And he was like, no, that is not what you're going to do. What you're going to do is you're going to dump X amount of money into your company and you're going to spend it. And I want you to spend it because that's the way you're going to grow your business and get these realtors to come by He says, a one-man shop is not what we want to be. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And he like, and we sat down, and when we decided to do this, you know, number one was we budgeted and we knew exactly how much we were going to put in and dump into the company. But number two was he literally was like, you know, we opened up we got a credit card, and we literally just dumped everything on this credit card. And we're just like, every month we're going to pay out this credit card, and every month this is what your marketing budget is going to be. And we're not going to think twice about it. And so she can ask her, like, happy hours are like every day, you know? But no, but back to your fundamental part of saying that, yes, that's true. Scared money doesn't make money, you know?
Absolutely.
And I feel like we were the generation of scared money.
Yeah.
Your parents are always saying, you know, make sure you put it in the bank. Say, like you said, save for a rainy day, when there were just so many other ways that you could be using your money for it to make money for you.
Yeah.
Or we just spent it on a bunch of random stuff. Like, so when my husband and I got together, like it was crazy because like he and I made about the same amount at that time. We were both in hotel stuff. And I spent all of my money, right? So we were doing the back and forth thing. He lived in San Antonio, I lived in Houston. So I went out there, and like by the time I moved to San Antonio, I still had an apartment here, and I had an apartment in River Oaks. Because I could afford to live in River Oaks, so I wanted to live in River Oaks, right? And I did not save. I spent all my money. Like I went on trips, you know, and then you start using your credit card, and you're like, I'll pay it off later. A bonus is coming. It's fine. And so I went with my husband. My husband didn't spend any of his money because he was saved to invest. So he was consuming so much content about real estate. And then like, so his thing was when I moved in with him, like I was the one that had all the debt. He introduced me to Rich Dad Poor Dad. He introduced me to how to figure out what your net worth was. And I thought, okay, well, if you make 6 figures, you're worth 6 figures. That's not true.
Not at all.
I did the math. I was worth a negative amount of money. And so he wasn't. And so he was ready to start playing real life Monopoly. And so he was like, he was constantly looking at properties, sending them to me. He's like, what do you think of this one? I'm like, I'm not a flipper. Like, I don't do that. So we got into real estate, we started investing, and then we started investing in Airbnb, but also Amazon. We started selling stuff on Amazon. And so my husband had done all this stuff to prepare to like, hey, let's start having our money be put to work for us. And I was like, oh, I just wanted a lifestyle. And I had to learn some hard lessons, but yeah, it's just crazy. But so the last one is you are who you hang around. So when you look at the people that you choose to hang out with that are closest to you, what would you say are some of the similar characteristics?
Go.
Okay. So I'm born and raised in Houston, and I still have friends that I went to elementary school with. Like those are my people. I feel like if you come hang out with me and my friends, you're gonna get along with somebody in the group. We just have like good personalities. We like welcoming people to the group. And that's why when I finally realized that my personality can take me further than my education, honestly, like if we're gonna put everything out on the table, that helped me realize where I needed to be in corporate America to not only be happy, but to use my talents to the highest. Now moving over, I think it's really important no matter where you work to enjoy the culture. So I spend a lot of time with these guys now. And I like, we go out, we have drinks, we go to lunch together, we grab dinner, stuff like that. And I've already learned a lot from him as an entrepreneur. At this point, I'm almost a year in, and I've met enough brokers and realtors and just people that are go-getters. And they have taught me, I always try to take one thing away from any meeting. And, we'll just go back to when we met. You gave me a list of books that you read and you found to help you out. And I loved that. And I took that away from our conversation and used it. Like, I'll never take it and then just like throw it away anymore. Like, I felt like I did that as a kid, but now any gem, even, I've been in corporate America for what, 12 years now? 13 years now. God. And even then you see every cycle, whether it's you or somebody else, you will see people get fired. You will see people get promoted. You will see, your circle, go off to do things with their family, get married, all that stuff. And so again, you just take a little piece of everything. They got fired. What are they doing to be better? I feel like even in the books that I read about entrepreneurs, the people that get fired are the ones that become successful as an entrepreneur. So like I never, and I think it's just because I surround myself with positive people, I've always been able to take away the good and the bad. bad things that happen. It's not the first time that it's ever happened. You know a little bit about my 2020 year. I lost my sister, I lost my dad, I lost my dog. It was just a really, really bad year for me. I lost my job. But with all that being said, it put me into an industry that I would have never even considered if all the bad happened. And, I surrounded myself with positive people that were just like, all those people that you lost are in a way better place than what, this world could ever give them. So yes, it's still hard, but it's always good to have somebody just breathe that life into you that, it feels bad and it is bad. And, but you're not the first person to lose somebody that's very, very close to them. And there are so many books and people and, counselors, therapy, whatever you need, it's there because, somebody else has gone through it and, they're still alive and well, years later after it's happened. So, yeah.
That's good. That was really deep. What about you, Waseem?
I have a close knit. I have a big family, so I really don't have too many friends. I hang out with a lot of my family members and these guys. But my best friend is my business partner, and my business partner owns his own law firm. And so a lot of the people that I hang out with the people that I want to be, or the people that I admire, and the people that I want to see myself. Maybe not. I don't want to be a lawyer, obviously, but I do want to make myself that successful. So I literally, when we got into business together, he is my best friend. Like Chris is my best friend. Like we do everything together. Like we have dinner. Like we bought this house together because we're starting a business. It's like a marriage. I need a roommate. You need a roommate. Like let's do it. Let's do it. Literally, like when we have bad days, like I'll be like, hey, let's talk about it. Let's put it down in the books. Let's go on it, because it is, man. But it's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like me and Chris have this weird relationship where we get along so well, and then we're just great business mindsets. Like he is the more analytical and the due process of the legal standpoint, and I'm like the salesy, like Mr. Personality, like let's go, let's do it, and we just make a great team. And so I hang out with him and his friends and his success, and I just want to hang out with people that are more successful than me, or I want to hang out with the people that I enjoy hanging out with to help them succeed, and show them what I've learned and to pass down. I feel that in your life you need to help people, and I think that you stay humble, obviously, as much as you can. I'm a little bougie, but we won't get there. but you try and stay humble. You try and stay humble, and you try and be the best you can be, right? And you help people. Once a month, Chris, this is something that Chris does, not even me, and I want to implement this into my life. But once a month, Chris will go to a restaurant, a nice restaurant like Del Frisco's, the Palm, Morton's, and he'll randomly pick up someone's tab. Doesn't even matter.
I love that.
I love it too.
Yeah. So we started doing that. So I started doing that too. So I go to Morton's a lot. I go to the Palm a lot. And the last time I did it, I didn't even know this, but it was their anniversary. It was a couple's anniversary. They drove it from Corpus Christi, and me and Chris picked up their whole tab, like bottles of wine, whatever it was. And then, so I like to give back in that sense of direction, a little bit here and there. So what I'd like to do, what I started doing like last Christmas when everything was crazy, I went to HEB and I was like, whoever wasn't behind me, I was like, I'm just gonna pay for this.
Yes. That is like a goal. I just want to take a group to where it's like, all right, the first 50 people that we pick, like those are all the people whose groceries are paying for.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So yeah, we do that, man, and it's a blessing. It's a blessing because we live a good life. Like, I mean, me and Chris, we always tell each other, man, we live really well. Like we really don't have to worry about too much, like these loan officers, they're here training and everything like that. And it's like, whatever y'all want to do, y'all just do it. Come ask me for help or whatever the case may be. So I just like to give back. And that's the thing I like to hang out with, Sorry.
Well, before we jump off, is there any advice that you have for someone who's maybe considering getting into the industry themselves? Like, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, come work for Jet Mortgage.
Yep. We're great people to work with.
And I'm going to put your information in the description below so that people can reach out to you in case they.
Honestly, my biggest advice I can give someone that's trying to get into the industry is reach out to people and there's the world is too small. Do not burn bridges. Just meet people and just be nice and cordial, and people will help you. And there's enough money to go around. There's enough sales to go around. There's enough houses to list. There's enough loans to do. Just ask questions and find a group that you can work with, but you can also be friends with. That's the biggest thing in this industry is you have to enjoy the people you work around. And if you don't enjoy the people you work around, you're going to come to work every day miserable, no matter how much money you're making.
Absolutely, because you spend so much time with them, right? Like
so much time.
Yeah.
And more time with your family sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I so appreciate you taking the time. So I'm gonna put do you want me to add your emails in the description, or would you prefer?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to share any of your social platforms where people can find you?
Oh, right now? Yeah.
So I'll include them in the description, but if you want to throw them out there.
Yeah, I'm Janese on Instagram. I'm Janese _LENDS lens. And Janese is JANESE. Follow me. And honestly, like if anybody has questions about anything, reach out. Like I said, I'm the queen of slipping and sliding in DMs and asking questions. So like feel free.
I am not that way at all. Like I will not bug your social media. I'm just no, but I do have an Instagram. It's Waseem WAZZYB09. That's my personal one. And I mean, if you look at it, it's like just 3 pictures of me. It's not even, but I have a Facebook. You can just look me up on Facebook or whatever. Again, that's one sales aspect that I haven't tapped into is the social media. I like to meet people face to face and go have drinks with them and just get to know them on a personal level. But these guys are great at that social media stuff, man. I give props to my team. They are amazing. So if you reach out to me, maybe you could teach me something,
Awesome. Well, again, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can do this again. I know that we took like a little over an hour, which I was expecting. Completely okay. Yeah, we'll have to do episode 2 sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.